I'm Candace Breyer, Chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a 9-person volunteer citizen board appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the City Council. Our procedure this evening is as follows. First, we will hear from the Planning and Development Services Unit, represented tonight by Mr. John Barrett. Then the petitioner or his or her representative will make his or her presentation. Petitioners will have 5 minutes in which to make their presentation. The board members may ask questions of either the city or the petitioner. We will acknowledge any written comments received by the board. We will allow an appearing party to express their support or objections. The board will discuss the appeal and formulate a resolution to approve the appeal. 5 affirmative votes of the board will be required for an appeal to be granted. Finally, any qualified party who is aggrieved by a decision of the board can appeal that decision to the Washtenaw County Circuit Court on a timely basis. We have roll call. I am here. Mike Daniel.
Here.
Dave DeVarty.
Here.
Mike Dobmeyer.
Here.
Nicole Eisenman.
Here.
Todd Grant.
Here.
Julie Weatherby.
Here.
Kirk Westfall. Charlotte Wilson.
Here.
We have a quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Do I have any comments? If not, a motion to approve the agenda? Motion from Charlotte. Support from Nicole. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to approval of the minutes. We have minutes here from the September 26th meeting. If there's any comments, questions, corrections to those minutes? If not, motion to approve the minutes as presented. Motion from Mike, support?
Yes.
From Todd? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to public hearings. We have ZBA 18024, 132 Hill Street. John?
I'm John Barrett, zoning coordinator for the city of Ann Arbor. The petition before us this evening is ZBA case 18-024, 132 Hill Street. Miller Building Company, Miller Building LLC, property owner, is requesting a 15-foot variance from section 5.20.4, subsection B, conflicting land use buffers. The property is zoned R4C, multiple family dwelling. The property has submitted a site plan to install a shared driveway along the eastern border with the adjacent property at 140 Hill Street. The proposed driveway will require the variance to enable the construction of the drive between the two properties. The petitioners plan to demolish the existing 1,830 square foot home and construct a new 11,653 square foot 5-unit apartment building. The site is 11,446 square feet. 4 of the proposed units would each have 6 bedrooms and 1 unit with 4 bedrooms, all are intended to be student rentals. A 15-foot wide conflicting land use buffer is required along both sides and the rear of the property, as this site is adjacent to residential uses. 2 of the 3 sides meet the conflicting land use buffer requirements for width and landscaping. The petitioner is requesting a variance from the eastern side of the conflicting land use buffer requirement, as this is the location of the proposed shared driveway with 140 Hill Street. If you'll turn your attention to your monitors, you'll see the first slide is the location map, and you see the subject property is highlighted for you in the center of the map. This is on the southern side of Hill Street, just east of South Main. The next slide is the aerial showing the existing conditions, surrounding neighborhoods, and various properties. The next slide is a zoomed in aerial. You see the subject property in its existing condition, the home that's slated to be demolished. There will be a shared driveway running along this eastern border, and this is where the 15-foot conflicting land use buffer is required along this side. All the way around, the petitioner plans on installing on the western and the rear. They're asking for the variance along the eastern side. Next slide is the existing conditions and the survey that was submitted with the application. Board members, you have that in your packets, a lot more legible than what's on the slide. You see the existing home on this survey. This is a lot better rendering. It shows the proposed site plan. You see the conflicting land use buffer along the western property, and in the rear, you see the proposed driveway. It'll be shared with the adjacent property. It'll be 18 feet in width, 9 feet on 132 Hill, 9 feet on 140 Hill, and then the other 6 feet will be for mechanical equipment, roll-out containers, carts, things like that along that side of the proposed building. And this is the configuration of the proposed apartment building. Next slide is a color rendering showing you the site plan that was submitted with the application. These are elevations of the proposed apartment building. See the north elevation, this will be the view from the street, and then the sides and the rear. This is a color rendering of the proposed finished product. The next slides are photos that I took when I conducted my inspection. This is the existing home that's slated to be demolished. This is the area between 132 and 140 Hill, and this is where the driveway is proposed to be constructed. This is more of the same. You see the view from across the street between the two properties, the subject property 132 Hill, 140 Hill, and then the driveway will be right through between the two properties. These are the existing conditions across the street. You see the two properties that are directly across the street, the way the neighborhood is going towards student rentals, student housing. That's the end of my presentation. I'll take questions at this time.
Thanks, John. Questions for staff? Dave?
So it looks to me like the plan, the building itself is going to be 15 feet away from the lot line? And it's just part of the driveway is in that?
That's correct.
So they need a variance for the driveway?
No, they need a variance from the required land use buffer. So from the property line, you see along this western border here?
Right.
That's all.
Oh, so
that's meeting the buffer. This side, they can't meet that buffer because the
see.
driveway's gonna be there.
So their ordinance requires a buffer between
On all
conflicting
sides,
lines.
on all sides of the property lines, because it's
And-
adjacent to residential, and this is a multifamily project.
And even though this is residential and the adjacent property is residential, the fact that this is multifamily makes it a different land use.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Julie?
Does the land use buffer, it looks like they're only going to be doing the two properties that they own. So what I'm wondering is that last however many feet, which is a separate property and not going to be combined, the easement?
That's a
Can-
different landlord or a different owner.
Is the variance for the entire lot line? Or just up until,
You're
Where-
talking from the front property corner to back right here?
right, is it
Yeah.
just to that
That's
point,
correct.
not to
Mhm.
the, because it says, so it's just on the shared driveway part.
Correct.
Dave?
I see there's 8 parking places on this plan. Is that sufficient to meet the parking requirements?
It is, there's 1.5 spaces per unit, and so they're required 6, and I believe they're supplying 8.
And that's regardless of how many bedrooms
Correct.
are in each unit?
Yep, it's 1.5 units, 1.5 spaces per unit. We don't calculate on bedrooms, just
Okay.
units.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, the petitioner's here. If you could please step forward, state your name for the record, and sign in. You'll have 5 minutes.
My name's Bob Miller. Is there something specific you'd like me to tell you, or?
Yeah, just, I guess, explain the project a little bit.
So it is a 5-unit building. I built one of the ones across the street that was referenced. That's a 4-unit building. The intent is to use it for student housing. We divide it up and create the units in kind of a shared housing kind of way where there's 2 bedrooms and a bathroom per floor, so we're trying to be thoughtful about usage. We want to be able to encourage the students to be able to walk to school, and I've had a lot of kids who have rented from me who go to the Ross School up the street, and it seems to be a good fit for them. So we're kind of moving in that direction. The shared housing is seen to be successful because it hits a different price point, and it doesn't necessarily have the high numbers of some of the larger places in town. So sort of like that. We've worked within kind of the confines of what the zoning rules are to try and create a building that fits within those confines, except for we need this buffer to be able to have the shared drive, and my neighbor and I have come to an agreement to try and make that work, and we feel it would be a good use of the drive. It eliminates one drive, our existing, and then it creates a shared drive, so it reduces the number of cars having to turn into multiple driveways, now going into a single drive. It's a wider, and it would be obviously new, so I think those are also advantages. It also, I'm trying to think if there's something else that would be relevant for you, but I think that kind of covers it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions for the petitioner? Dave?
So looking at this plan, it looks like, will each unit occupy 2 floors, basically?
Actually, so it's lower level, main
Right.
floor, second and third. So there's.
But will one unit be on the lower end first?
Correct, it's
And
like.
another unit will be on the second and third?
No, they're like townhomes, so they're vertical. So there would be a front door.
Right.
And a set of stairs down.
Right,
And 2 sets of stairs up. So you'd go so there'd be 2 bedrooms on the 3rd floor, 2 bedrooms on the 2nd, 2 bedrooms in the basement or lower level, and none on the main floor. The main floor is a common area.
okay. So those 2 bedrooms, so that what you just described is 1 unit,
Correct.
and it has 6.
Bedrooms.
So there's I'm looking at a unit A, unit B, unit A, unit B. So really, the different A's are really different units, right?
Configurations. They're just a different configuration. So we have 5 units total, and there's A units and B units. The A unit is a different configuration than a B unit. But each unit only has 6 bedrooms. There's no more.
So if I've got myself and 5 friends,
Correct.
and we want to live here, there's 2 of us on each floor.
Correct.
Or 3 floors.
Yes.
And on the main level, the ground floor, is common area?
Correct.
And is that shared with the other units?
No.
That's our own common area.
Correct.
This won't affect my decision on this, but I'm just curious, when you manage this, do you rent those bedrooms separately, or do you rent the whole unit to a group?
My intention is, and what I've done, is rent to a group.
Okay.
I try and coordinate people to get together and organize themselves.
So are you renting jointly and severally to a group of 6, basically?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's anyone else here who wishes to speak on this petition, please step forward, state your name. All right, seeing no one, we're in discussion.
Dave, I want to correct myself. I calculated your parking question based on 4 units. It's actually 5 units, and 5 times 1.5 would be 7.5.
Correct.
We round up to 8, so I misspoke, but it's, they
So
still,
that's their
they still,
meet-
they still
their-
meet the parking, minimum parking requirements.
They're exactly meeting the minimum.
Correct.
Okay.
Julie?
So I just, and John, sorry if I mean, but, so it says the petitioner is requesting a variance from the eastern side club requirement. And I just, because that back part is another site, I just want to make sure that we're not releasing them from the requirement at the back of the lot. I mean, I see the plans look like you intend to have I just want to make sure that the variance doesn't continue back beyond the driveway.
Are you talking about this back
Yep.
corner right here?
Yeah,
Yeah. We can end it at the end of that driveway, or the beginning of that driveway, or however you want to phrase it, but.
yeah.
And they
I-
also will have to construct per the submitted plans.
Okay.
So,
I just, it's not so much with this owner, but should there be subsequent owner having a variance that goes all the way back would be problematic for that other house. So I'm-
Any other discussion or motion, if we're ready for a motion? Go for it, Mike.
This is petition, ZBA petition 18-024, 132 Hill Street. Based on the following findings of fact and in accordance with the established standards for approval, the zoning board of appeals hereby grants the following variance from section 5.20.4B. A variance of 15 feet from the conflicting land use buffer to allow a shared driveway along the eastern property line. This variance provides relief from the width and planting requirements of the buffer. The residential building and driveway are to be constructed per the submitted plans. A, the alleged practical difficulties are peculiar to the property and result from conditions which do not exist generally throughout the city. B, that the practical difficulties which will result from a failure to grant the variance include substantially more than mere inconvenience, inability to attain a higher financial return, or both. C, the variance, if granted, will not significantly affect surrounding properties. D, the circumstances of the variance request are not self-imposed. E, the variance request is the minimum necessary to achieve reasonable use of the land or structure.
Do I have support? Support from Todd? Dave?
Can we have a little discussion?
Oh,
Do we
We
have
just had a
discussion?
motion.
Are we doing the vote?
yeah, we just,
Oh, we had discussion.
yes, sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to vote for this, but I'm with, I'm also, I want to see this buffer along the, as it's pictured here, where it's behind the other unit, the other residential property on Brown Street. I'm comfortable with because obviously the immediately adjacent property owner on Hill Street is on board because they've made an agreement to have a shared easement on this drive. So I'm comfortable with this. But the way it's pictured, it actually keeps a buffer behind that other property on Brown Street, and I'm comfortable voting for this as long as that buffer is there. So, and we're good with that, right?
they're gonna be required to install that because this is a site plan project.
Right.
And so once it's if it's approved by city council, they will be required to construct to that site plan, which is what
Okay.
they've submitted.
In that case, I'll vote for it.
Mike Dobmeyer?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Charlotte?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mike Daniel?
Yes.
The request is granted. Moving on, we have no unfinished business. Reports and communications, I just have none. Public commentary. Anyone? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion, support?
Support.
From Dave, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.